My name is Arvind Kala and I live in Delhi. Today is Thursday, September the 3rd, and right now as I speak, India and China are lurching into a war in Ladakh. Now, this is not a time for postmortems, but I'll do one anyway. And I have a question to ask of successive Indian governments over the decades. Why over 73 years have we not discussed with China how to demarcate our common border on the ground? But whether it was Jawaharlal Nehru, Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, Narasimha Rao, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Manmohan Singh or Mr. Modi, nobody ever sat down. Hey China, let's, we are neighbors. Let's demarcate the land on the ground. Now, Ladakh is a moonscape. It's one of the most hostile territories on this earth. Nothing grows there. It's just, there's not even earth there, soil. That soil is just eroded rock. And that is what we are fighting over. Now, let's not forget one thing. Nations lurch into wars. America lurched into a war in Vietnam, lost 58,000 young GIs and came back with his tail between his legs. Russia invaded Afghanistan in 1979, lost 15,000 soldiers and withdrew. George Bush invaded Iraq looking for weapons of mass destruction which didn't exist. And 20 years later today, the Americans are still fighting there. And look at our western neighbor, Pakistan. This foolish country lost its own eastern half. Why? By cracking down, by killing 500,000 Bengalis, etc. And they could have given them autonomy and they left and they lost half their territory and became the miserable wreck they are today. Or India itself, Rajiv Gandhi didn't need to intervene in Sri Lanka to fight Tamil guerrillas, but he did that. And he ended up getting assassinated by those Tamils who never forgot that, his army had tried to crush them. So right now, we have a land border of 3,500 kilometers with China. That means from Kashmir in our north to Kerala in our south. Now, this is hostile territory, rivers, mountains, jungles, whatnot, shifting landscapes. Now, unless you demarcate it on the ground, which means with pillars, with bits of wall, with bits of natural ridges, etc., with markings over 3,500 kilometers, it doesn't work. You're bound to lurch into conflict. Over 73 years, why hasn't India done that? I don't care whether China did it or not, but I've never seen a serious effort here of India ever trying to do that. At least we would have had something to say. Now, earlier, look at our situation today. Earlier, we had Pakistan, which was too weak for us militarily and economically. That was one foe, one opponent. And next door was China, which is economically more powerful and militarily more powerful. And we could have, there were separate things. We had a working relationship with China, and with Pakistan, in any case, it was a miserable wreck. And now today, they are together. And if we start off, and if there's a war does break out in Ladakh, can we be sure that Pakistan will not attack India on our western flank? You see, China and Pakistan have got together not because Pakistan counts for anything to China, but Pakistan is the land route for China's oil. Oil it desperately needs from the Middle East. And that is what China sees as a bit of territory that it needs to get oil. China is a geopolitical player. We are just a South Asian player. And right now, this is what the situation is. And so the greatest problem in India right now as I speak, I'm cowering. I'm feeling shit scared because in India what happens is, my name is Arvind Kala. Hey, you're weakening India. You're weakening Mr. Modi. You're weakening the Indian army by deferring from the government's policy. So inside you go. So right now I'm cowering. But why the hell shouldn't I speak? This is what it is. And this is what we should do. China is too powerful for us economically and militarily. Economically, they are money lenders to the world. They're creditors to the world. A rich Italy, a rich Australia, these two countries need their money. The whole world, Latin American economies, African economies, the whole world needs their money. They're the Mukesh Ambani of nations. And we aren't that. So militarily, China is an audacious buccaneer. They've had the gall to declare an entire ocean as theirs, South China Seas. And they fire at US warships and warn them away. And they say this ocean is ours. This is the kind of country this is, which is so powerful militarily and economically that is challenging the world. And this is the foe we are pitted against. Now they're much more. They're too strong for us. It's like me fighting a WWF wrestler. So right now, what we should do is we should sit down and work out this thing. Even let anybody say, India, fight. There's no point. We lose much more. You see, China is our largest trading partner. Suppose we freeze relations with China, we are going to be hurt very badly economically. That's no solution. Whereas India is number 11 in China's trading list. Their biggest partners have been America, the European Union, Japan, South Korea, etc. Not India. India is a very small player for China, but China is a huge player for us. So this is what we should do. We should not get into a war. And in those freezing ways where it's impossible to survive, those freezing sub-zero temperatures, it's already September. In a couple of months, all our troops and their troops will be freezing. And that's the place where you want to, explode grenades and, fire tank. So we should head for peace immediately. And if we can't do it on a one-to-one basis, let's have international arbitration. It's not, we think of that as something very wrong, as a sign of weakness. Not at all. When Tony Blair was negotiating with IRA, he asked Clinton, who was an ex-Irishman, to negotiate, to broker peace between the two sides. So international arbitration is a done deal all over the world. It happens all over. I don't see why we shouldn't do it. So there's a lot of talent. This is, a war never helps any side. Soldiers die, and there's a saying, old people start wars and the young people die in the fighting. So let's have peace. Thank you. Bye-bye.